Sample number 7, this one has sort of a pearly luster. So I would say non-metallic, and I can sort of see the pink pearly luster in this. And then in terms of hardness, it's easily scratched with a knife. I can barely, maybe a little bit. So it looks like I'm barely scratching it with my fingernail. I feel like I'm scratching. So it's probably around the same hardness or maybe a little bit softer than my fingernail for sample 7. And then in terms of streak, it's leaving a white streak. A white streak. So it has a white streak as well. And then for cleavage, it looks like it has out just one direction of cleavage, one direction of basal cleavage. So your job is to identify this sample here, sample 7. Sample 8 has a slightly metallic luster. I can see it's sort of metallic. I see some of the, like I pointed out earlier, some of that rusty, those red spots that are that rust for sample 8. But it also has that shiny gray metal looking. So metallic, so probably I'd go with metallic luster on this mineral here. And in terms of hardness, let's check its hardness for number 8. And it is slightly scratching the glass plate. I can see a little bit of a scratch there. So its hardness is around a little bit, maybe about the same or maybe a little bit harder than the glass plate. And for the knife, just to double check here, I'm not really scratching it with a knife. So its hardness is maybe 5.5 to 6. 5.5 to 6 on this sample. And for its streak, it's given us a brownish black, a dark brown streak. Looks like a dark brown streak. And then for this sample, it looks like there's no cleavage. But this sample has an interesting property. If we put it up against a magnet, you can see that the magnet is attracted to it. You can see I can move it around with a magnet. So it is magnetic. So that's another important property of this mineral. It's magnetic, sample number 8. There's no sample number 9, but there is a sample number 10. And sample number 10, again, is this vitreous? Is it metallic? Is it dull? Is it waxy? So use your adjectives. In terms of hardness, I can see that I can scratch it with my fingernail pretty easily. So I'm scratching it and it feels very soft, very powdery soft. The streak that it leaves is a white streak, and it has no cleavage. It has kind of a crude parting that I see there, but really there's no cleavage. The key thing about this mineral is that it's very soft, non-metallic mineral. So that's sample number 10, no cleavage. Sample 11 has this really square or orthogonal look. And when we look at it here, you can see the sort of it looks like it has 90 degree cleavage or cubic cleavage. In terms of hardness, I can scratch it pretty easily with a knife. So it's softer than the knife. Although I cannot scratch it with my fingernail. How about the wire? And I can, yes, and it's scratched by the wire nail. So the wire nail scratches it, but not my, so it's somewhere between 4.5 and 2.5. But it does have that cubic cleavage. That'll help you. It has a cubic cleavage, 3 directions. So that's sample number 11. Sample number 12 is this mineral here. Again, this is very shiny, but don't let this confuse you. It's just shiny, or it's not metallic. So you want to describe what type of shiny luster this is. So it means it has a really good cleavage direction, at least one good cleavage direction. In fact, it has a basal cleavage direction. So basal cleavage, let's see, it's pretty soft. It's softer than 4.5. But I seem to have trouble. It's maybe about the same hardness as my fingernail there. So about 2.5 to hardness 3. Black mineral, one direction of cleavage, that basal cleavage. And in terms of streak, it's not really, white. a white streak as well. Or no streak. Yeah, let me be a white streak. Off-white. And finally, the last mineral here is sample number 13. That's our last sample. And this one, you can see it has really good, it's really shiny or brilliant. It's bright, so it has some good cleavage directions. So again, you could describe this as metallic or non-metallic. It's your choice. But there's some other, I can see it looks like a little bit of amber there, so you might want to give it it's kind of those amber colors. In terms of hardness, I can scratch it with a knife pretty easily. And I'm scratching it with the wire nail, so it's less than 4.5, but I cannot scratch it with my fingernails. Now for the streak color, it's giving me a yellow streak. So a yellow streak there. So it has a yellow streak and it smells like sulfur. So it has a strong sulfur smell. Yeah, yellowish streak with a sulfur smell. And in terms of cleavage, it has several directions of cleavage. Probably more than two. So it has really good cleavage in several directions. And this one I don't have the goniometer to measure this, but for this sample 13, we're going to say it's non-metallic. And I want you to give me an adjective for this one as well. Its hardness is somewhere between 2.5 and 4.5. It has that characteristic yellow streak that smells like sulfur. And then it has really good cleavage in several directions. And note that the cleavage is not at 90 degrees. It's at random angles. All right, so that's sample 13. All right, well, let's stop here for now.